Good evening and welcome to the Ombudsman Program. My name is Diane Wellborne. I'm the Ombudsman and I'm going to be your host for this evening's program. Tonight we are going to be presenting a new concept and a relatively new topic happening in our community. It's called the Preschool Promise. And I have on the program with me tonight 3 guests to help get out all of the information about how this program has come to our community and how it's been researched and what the future holds. So we do have a lot to get over tonight. I'd like to start by introducing Montgomery County Commissioner Debbie Lieberman, who's here with me. Thank you so much for coming. Sure. And then I also have 2 guests from Learn to Earn. One is Robyn Lightcap, who is the director, and then I have Charmaine Webster with us, and she is the program manager. Did I get all that right, ladies?
Good. Yes, sounds good.
Thank you so much for coming. So I'd like to start by asking Commissioner Lieberman, who has taken a lead in this initiative, to tell us a little bit about how you got involved in what this is.
Absolutely, sure. So probably 7 years ago, we originally started talking about quality preschool and why it was important. And we did that through our Family and Children First Council. And several committees were formed around it. A lot of study happened. And about the same time, Learn to Earn, Ready, Set, Soar was formed. And then Learn to Earn, it kind of all came together. And for the last several years, we've been doing a pilot project with the support of the commissioners and many other partners in the community. And we can talk more about the pilot, but it's something that Montgomery County, all 3 commissioners believe is important. We believe in investing in our youngest people because we know if we want to have a quality workforce, we need to start early.
Very good. That's a great summary, and I appreciate your kicking us off with that. The Ohio Kindergarten Readiness Test, which I would like for somebody to tell me a little bit more about because I've not experienced that test, but I know that it informed a lot of the research behind this. I don't even know that test, I don't know how long it's been in existence. So one of you please tell us and the viewers a little bit about the Ohio Kindergarten Readiness Test and what that has taught us or what that has brought to us in this area.
Sure. So Ohio has what we call the Kindergarten Readiness Assessment, and it's something that our children take when they first come to kindergarten. They have to take it at the beginning of the school year, and it really looks at their skills as they come in related to literacy. And it used to be only focused on literacy, and a couple of years ago we made it much more holistic in Ohio and included social emotional, math, science, physical well-being, and approaches to learning, and just thinking about the classroom setting and how you have to learn how to cooperate in a classroom to really thrive. And so all of those aspects are now assessed with our incoming kindergartners, and it really helps our teachers understand where children are and helps them develop individualized plans so that we can really teach our children and help build on the skills that they're coming in with. And what I would say is in direct answer to your question about what does it tell us related to Preschool Promise, we've been able to look at those scores and see that a number of our children are coming in without the skills they need to be successful when they start kindergarten. In fact, we know that only about 1/3 of our children across Montgomery County are fully ready for kindergarten.
Okay, only 1/3 across our county. That's pretty dramatic. Is this test administered by the kindergarten teachers, or does some other entity come in and do the testing?
Yes, it is done by the teachers, the student's teacher in the classroom, and they look at both individualized questions, and then they also look at how the child interacts in the group setting. So some things are observational and some are one-on-one question and answer with the student. So it is a much more comprehensive test now, like I said, than it was previously.
Right. And how many? You say that 1/3 are not, or only 1/3 are ready when they come to kindergarten. How do we compare with other areas? You can certainly pick any one, but in Ohio, other communities that are similar to us.
We are pretty similar, so it's just over 1/3. We're hovering around that 36-37% being fully ready and the highest band on the Kindergarten Readiness Assessment. when you compare us to other similar size counties and communities, we're about the same. We've been a little bit lower than the state average, and sometimes a little lower than some of our peer larger urban counties, but fairly close. And so we all are cognizant of this being an issue across the state.
Okay. And what are some of the factors that contribute to kindergarten readiness? I mean, when you see the results of these tests, are there certain things that jump out at researchers to say this is a background of a child that makes them ready for this?
Sure. You know, I think if we had our kindergarten teachers here, they would be able to give you a very long list, and they probably would refer first to some of the social emotional skills, and that really has to do with how the child can sit and pay attention, follow direction, share, cooperate, just really be a team player in the classroom and be ready to learn with a classroom of other children. The other big piece is the pre-literacy skills, and we know that on the older kindergarten readiness assessment, our children were really deficient in rhyming, for example. That tended to be something that was lacking. And so just those are important pre-literacy skills that lead to a child then being able to read as they get on later in kindergarten, first grade, etc. So those are a few examples, but really a lot of it has to do with talking and with asking questions and with the parent reading to the child every day from the time that they were born, asking questions as they're going about their day-to-day tasks. That conversation and interactive dialogue is just critically important in helping our children develop the skills they need.
Excellent. About how many preschoolers do we have among our population in Montgomery County? What's our number?
Great question. We have 6,500 students that are in each age cohort. So 6,500 that would be entering kindergarten each year, approximately. Yep.
6,500. That's a lot of kids.
Yep.
And if you think, to be tested, but if you think only a third of them are really
ready,
right. Some of them are in preschool or daycare, but they're not getting the high quality that they need.
Right.
And then what about a third, Robyn, just aren't in any preschool at all.
Right.
So
having experienced adult kindergarten is really that first
Yes.
So the key for us is to remember high quality. That's why it's critical.
Right. And I do want to come back to that and talk about stars and rating and moving and that. Get back to that. I'd like to ask our staff here at DATV if they could put up the slide so that we can talk about the Promise Pillars of Success, Montgomery County Preschool Promise Pillars of Success, a graph about educating, expanding, and assisting families. Which one of you would like to start off, telling people a little bit more about this?
Well, I can start. When we really dug into this, we had, and I know you know about this, we had several different committees. We also were a part of the mayor's educational forums that she did, but we also had a group of about 25 community leaders led by Debbie Feldman and Dave Mellon from PNC, and they dug in and came up with a lot of the recommendations that the county commissioners then said we approved and said yes, we want to move forward. This was last year. We want to move forward with full expanded preschool promise. And I think one of the things on this chart is the goal. And our goal is to double the number of children who attend a high quality preschool in the next 10 years. And that would move us from 35% to 70%. And that right now is our goal. And then you have the pillars, and I'll let these two talk a little bit more about the pillars.
Please.
Yeah, so one of the things that when you asked about what's a factor that affects a child being ready for kindergarten, the whole reason why we have the Preschool Promise is because one of the best ways to get ready for kindergarten is to have children in high quality preschool. And so that's where the Preschool Promise idea just came from, and we wanted to have that support. And so when we look at the 3 pillars of the Preschool Promise, the first piece, and the piece that I have the privilege of leading, is really getting the word out in the community, and that's twofold. The first part of that is getting the word out to our parents. The number 2 reason why parents in Montgomery County don't send their children to preschool is because they just don't understand how important it is or how necessary it is in getting their children ready for kindergarten. And so really getting the message out to families about this makes a difference, this helps your children get ready for kindergarten, is so important in the Preschool Promise initiative. Then the second part to that is to really get the message out to our community members, because parents have their kids in preschool for just 2 years, and oftentimes families don't understand that they can have a voice in really getting the community to support Preschool Promise. But if we can get the general public to understand just how important it is, then parents won't feel alone, and they can have that support to spread that message. And through spreading the word out to the general public, we hope to get support for preschool for all our children.
Very good. Very strong pillars upon which this is built.
Yes.
That's very good. I also wanted to ask the staff here at DATV to bring up for us the slide that's entitled "Why Offer the Preschool Promise?" Which is a graph that shows the percentage of children who test ready for kindergarten, which we were just hearing about from Robyn. And so would you like to tell our viewers a little bit more about what this graph tells us?
So what you can see here is that we really are hovering in that area just above a third of our students who are fully ready for kindergarten. And so another piece that I would add on to this is if you look at the other end of the education continuum, about exactly the same percentage, about 37% of our students go on to graduate from college. And it's no coincidence that those two numbers are eerily the same. And the fact is, if we want to increase the number of our students who go on to get college and post-secondary credentials, whether it's a certifications or a license, we have to increase the readiness at the beginning. We've got to build that strong foundation for our students so they really are ready to take advantage of all the learning opportunities in their K-12 journey.
Very good. Thank you very much for helping us with that graph. Sometimes those things are complicated for us, so
Yeah.
it's very good. And then I also want to ask the staff to put up "Why Offer the Preschool Promise?" which I think illustrates, again, something you touched on a bit earlier about these bands. So I'll let you take it again.
Yeah, so here you can see that our students who are in that highest band on the kindergarten readiness assessment, you can see then we've compared in this chart how they do on the third grade reading proficiency test, which is again another state test that looks at how our third graders are doing with their reading skills. And we know from other research that the reading skills in third grade are highly predictive of later success. And we can see our students who score in that highest band, 96%, nearly 100% go on to be proficient readers in third grade. So there's a really tight correlation with how our students are doing when they come in kindergarten and then how they do later on when they get to third grade.
And I want to add that this right here is very strong. I think when people see that, they're kind of like, aha. You know, if they're ready for kindergarten, then they're going to be reading, which we know how important that is now in Ohio and throughout the country, but, you know, to pass that third grade reading. So if they're reading, that's critical. And if they're reading, then it shows that they will graduate. You know, and so it all kind of works together, and that's when this chart right here and talking about that is really powerful because it's important. we've got to get them graduated to get them in the workforce. So I think this is a really good chart to keep.
I do too, and in the 10-year goal that you spoke about a few minutes ago, the hope is to move these people all the way up to that 96 level.
3.
I'm being told that we have a caller on line 1, and that's perfect timing. I was just going to stop and remind people that they can call, but somebody already has. So we'll take your question on the air, and then we will answer it when you are off the air to avoid any feedback. So you're on the air. Please give us your question.
Thank you so much. This is such an important program, and I really am grateful for the fact that you focused on this. Both of my own children benefited from preschool programs. They were in programs from the age of 3 years old, and it was so important in their success. I just wanted to say how much I appreciate your guest who talked about the importance of getting the word out to parents about how important this is, and programs like this help with that. My question, I have 2 questions, and they're in the the areas, first, of creativity, and second, socialization. So with really young children, in my experience, creative programs like storytelling and dramatization of the kind that was happening at the lab school at the University of Chicago, encouraged by a creative preschool teacher who won the MacArthur Genius Prize. Even before children are able to read, they're able to tell stories, and then dramatizing those stories brings children together in creative ways. So my question is, what are the creative growing edges of early childhood education in our home here in Dayton? And my second question has to do with socialization. Some young children come with behavior problems. They are sometimes aggressive, and they don't know how to handle their aggression toward classmates. And I heard recently of a creative program in Connecticut that channels the exuberant energy such children bring in ways so that they don't get expelled from school. Well, I'm sorry that my questions have gone on for so long, but it's just a measure of how important I think your work is.
Well, thank you for your call, and we'll have a discussion here about your two questions and the points that you made. And I understand there's another caller on hold, so bear with us. We will get to you. All right, who wants to take about what are some of the creative edges in preschool education that we know of here?
I would like to start, and then
Sure.
I'll let Robyn finish. So one thing that we know about a quality preschool program is that it's play-based, because children, just like he said, being creative, being dramatized, children learn through play. And so really being able to bring that focus through the Preschool Promise and working with the teachers so that they understand that, to help breed the creativity and to grow the creativity within our children is an important part of a high quality preschool program. Because preschool is not sitting down and being in a seat and, being on worksheets. It's going from the sand and knowing how sand feels and letting it touch your skin and, I don't know, well, I'm not going to stop myself. But preschool is just so much more than filling in the blank. It is experiencing life. And when children have the opportunity to experience that in a classroom with a high quality teacher, with their peers, they're going to grow and just learn so much more than they would just not having those kind of experiences. And so that's what we work to offer through the Preschool Promise by working with our local programs.
Thank you very much. And does anyone, who wants to take the socialization question?
Yeah, I will, and I also will just add on to what Charmaine said, that since the caller was asking about examples in the Dayton area, we do have a great asset in the University of Dayton in the early childhood program that we have at the university. And they actually have developed something called the Access Framework, and this is something that Dr. Shauna Adams has developed, and she is very committed to using that in our community and for the school, the Bombeck Family Learning Center, to really be a learning lab. But they use what is called inquiry-based or project-based learning. And just like Charmaine was explaining, having that child-centered, child-directed learning and really expanding off of a concept that children are interested in and teaching all of the concepts in the early learning standards, that's a really, really great way for our students to learn. And so we do have some really great examples here in the Dayton area, and that's just one of them. Then the social emotional side, that is critically important. And like your caller said, there are some, unfortunately, situations where students have been expelled or suspended even from preschool. And really that has to do with our programs don't all have the highly skilled workforce and the highly trained workforce that we desire. And they don't necessarily have skills in how to manage a classroom full of 15, 16 preschool children. Sometimes I say, if you've had your own preschoolers, think about having 15 of them at one time, right? That's no easy task. And so there are best practice ways on how to manage a classroom and to create a positive environment, an encouraging environment that helps bring out the best in our children. And part of Preschool Promise is to focus on that. In fact, that's where we are starting this school year, is with something called conscious discipline, which really is a best practice in managing classrooms and creating that positive social emotional behavior.
And what Robyn hit on is, it's so critical because, you know, when a child has been expelled from preschool, you know, that could set them down a path that we don't want them to have to go down, right?
Absolutely.
So if there are ways that we can avoid that, I think that we should at all costs try to avoid that. But it's, again, education with the providers and with the parents as well. You know, it's a two-way street, but I think that's a goal definitely of Preschool Promise, that we don't want to eliminate any children from the programs.
Right. Good. Thank you very much. Do we still have a caller? We do. Okay, caller, again, we're going to take your question on the air and then we will answer it off the air. So you're on the air. We'd love to hear your question.
Okay, perfect. So I just want to say that Preschool Promise sounds like a really great program. And so I do have a question as a parent. I do want to know, what does high quality look like? How is Preschool Promise creating quality in the preschools? I don't know if you guys explained that already, but I would just like to know.
Thank you very much. We will definitely go to that now then. That'll be fine. All right,
good.
Quality. How are we addressing that one?
Yeah.
I'll start. Okay. So in Ohio, we have something called the star rating system, where a program can earn anywhere from a 1-star to a 5-star rating. And this is a voluntary thing that a program can apply to do that's above and beyond basic licensing. And this applies both to our school-based preschools and to childcare preschool settings. And this is one way that we're looking at quality, but it's not the only way. With Preschool Promise, we're really pushing beyond just the state rating system and saying, what are the things that really define a high quality learning environment for our students? How are they engaging with families and making sure that families are an active partner in the child's learning? How are we looking at difficult issues related to equity and the different cultural differences that we need to be aware of in our programs? And then also looking at just making sure resources are available to the families in the program. So we really, with Preschool Promise, we're defining quality beyond even the 5-star rating system to create that culture of continuous improvement. Charmaine, what would you add?
What I would add, since that was a parent calling, you know, when a parent goes to a center, there are certain things that they should look for. You know, first of all, is it safe? Are children happy? You know, are children engaged? Are they learning in multiple ways and not, of course, being in front of a television screen? To look at the credentials of the teachers. You know, do they have an education? And then looking at asking the centers, do you implement a curriculum that will help our students learn? So all of those things go into having a quality center for a parent, knowing that their child has something and a path to follow once they're in the classroom.
And can I add something as well? One of the things when we talked about what centers are we going to include, and we as a committee, our group decided along with the experts that to be in the Preschool Promise program, you have to be attempting to get into the star rating program, because, you know, it's not easy. I mean, well, it depends on the caregiver, because we've had some tell us, oh, it was simple, but then we've had others say this is tough. But that's critical that they be in the process of getting star rated, and the reason it's critical, it's one of the other reasons is by 2020 the state is requiring that every preschool, if they're going to get any kind of compensation from the state, that they have to be star rated. So, and they have to be at least
Just a 1-star.
just a 1-star
By 2020.
by 2020. But still, I mean, you know, there are 5 stars, and so it's something that everyone's going to have to be in it anyway. So we're just encouraging those centers in our county. Let's get started on it, right? Right. And so we provide assistance as well to do that.
And the star rating goes from 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest rating. Back to the caller's question, is there a place where parents can go to find out, like, for example, where the nearest 3 to 5-star programming. Okay, where do people go to look online or to find out where the programs are?
They can visit 4cforchildren.org.
Okay.
And I believe it's the number 4 and then spelling the word out, FOR, and then children.
Okay.
Lord, is that no, 4C. No, I'm sorry.
C.
So
It's
it's the number
the
4,
number
the
4,
letter
the letter
C,
C.
and then forchildren.org.
All right.
And that's
good.
where they can go to find answers to your question.
Well, that's good. I'll make sure to get that, so if we get follow-up calls in the office, we can have that, or we'll put it out on our Facebook stuff so people can figure out how to go with that. Then let's talk a little bit more about what we currently have. I mean, we currently have some children that aren't in preschool at all, and we currently have some parents that aren't understanding the value of the preschool. And when we look at our STAR system, do we have a lot of centers already participating in the STAR system? So we do have a lot of those. Okay.
Well, it depends how you define
Okay.
a lot.
Yeah.
But we have a number throughout the whole county. We
Okay.
do, and we're getting more and more. So.
And they're not at the state yet where the ones that have 3 and 4 stars have waiting lists for years to get into, or are we getting there? They're still accessible.
No, yes, we do still have spaces, even today, and some of our more highly rated programs. So, and they are spread throughout the county. We have just under 100 star-rated programs across Montgomery County, and yet that is still under 40% of our programs that are star-rated. So we still have a long way to go in making sure all of our programs are high quality.
Okay. And what kind of support is being offered to the staff or the owners of the facilities in order to help them move further up in the star rating system or into it at all?
And so through the Preschool Promise, that's our second pillar, is focusing on that quality piece. And right now we are providing coaching to teachers and to administrators to improve the quality of their program. We're also doing a number of assessments to, and one in particular is called CLASS, and it's an assessment to look at how teachers instruct their children, because we know that classroom instruction is one of the number 1 ways to improve a child's readiness, and that makes sense because the teacher is spending the most time with the children. We're looking at environment, and I think the coaches meet monthly with all of the providers to create a learning community that's supportive, as well as they are getting extra time in the classroom to work with those teachers. And then outside of Preschool Promise, we have programs where the coaches are going out and training our providers as well, but it's not as intensive. And so that's the benefit of the Preschool Promise, is that those teachers have more focus in the classroom throughout the month to really help them implement all of the best practices that they're learning.
Good, great, thank you. Anything else on that you want to add? I'm going to move then to talk a little bit about the cost for parents.
I would just add also that we are giving them additional resources that they need to serve the children, to make sure that the learning environment is really rich with the kinds of learning toys, games, books, resources that are needed. So it's resources, it's additional training, helping our teachers go back and get certifications in early childhood so that they know best practices in child development. And then that coaching, like Charmaine talked about, in the classroom. We all know that going and sitting in one training is not the best for any of us, no matter what industry. It's that really hands-on practice with what you've learned that makes a difference.
And then before we do get to the cost, who is providing evaluating the STAR system? Who is it that comes and visits a child care center and says, this is 4-star?
It's the State Department of Job and Family Services and also the Department of Education. It's jointly run with those 2 departments at the state.
Okay. Good. And are they? Is it an annual review that each center has by these entities?
Yes, they have to do a renewal, and sometimes they apply to increase their star rating, or they might decide to maintain. So it is an ongoing maintenance effort and continually reviewed by the state.
Yep. And you had mentioned that some say, oh, it was easy to get into this, and others are finding it really challenging. What are a couple of the things that the centers are reporting to you all are their biggest challenges?
Well, I think most people go into child care and early childhood because they love kids, and not necessarily because they want to run a business. And so one thing that I see as a big barrier is that people have a heart for children, they have a heart for families, but sometimes their business practices are not as high as their love for children. And so oftentimes when you have poor business practices, sometimes that can lead to having poor practices in your center. And so we really want to work with our centers to have the best business practices so that they can provide the best education.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other particular challenges they're reporting?
Yes, I would say the number one challenge that we hear from all providers is finding the qualified staff. Finding staff that have those AA degrees, the BA degrees in early childhood and beyond. Because unfortunately, the child care field in particular has been paying our teachers at a very low wage for so many years. Many of them are at minimum wage or just above. And obviously, hiring somebody who has a BA in any topic at minimum wage is not really a great proposition. So it makes finding that highly qualified staff very challenging. And so that's a big focus of what we're looking at, is how do we really create a pipeline and address this wage issue with the state and the reimbursement rates that they're providing.
Okay, very good. Now, parents also are going to have to bear the cost unless they are low income and are eligible for the Head Start program. So what are you finding about the cost of preschool for given the quality ratings and availability?
Well, we have a chart about the
yes,
costs.
we'll get this one out.
And we can look at that, but I'd like to start by saying, you're right. So right now, except in Kettering and parts of Northwest Dayton, unless you are a certain percentage of, federal guidelines for poverty, it's been tough. I mean, quality preschool can be very expensive. I put 2 of my boys through quality preschool, so I know. But that's part of, it's not all, but that's part of the Preschool Promise, is that we're going to promise our parents in Montgomery County, no matter what your income level is, that you will be able to send your children to preschool. Now, part of that is, it depends on your income level. If you're at the higher end, you're, let's just call it a subsidy. You may not be the same as someone that's, not making as much as you are.
Your need is
so
not
it's
as great. Yeah.
right, and so it's a scale, but it's something that we believe everyone needs. I mean, we've heard some great stories just last week of parents who couldn't send who are working parents. One woman worked in a preschool.
Yes, a preschool teacher.
Preschool teacher. And she's like, well, I couldn't afford to send my kids to my own preschool without help. So it's something that we know that in order to get everybody there, first of all, we do have to get them educated, the parents educated on why it's important, but we also want to be able to offer them assistance.
Help to do it. All right, let's get our slide out, please, staff. The average funding and fees for preschool, and we'll show that to the viewers while we ask our guests to tell us a little bit more about this.
So this is somewhat of a technical chart, if you will, with kind of insider speak in the different funding streams for early childhood. And what this is really showing is the reimbursement rates that are offered for the federally funded Head Start program, which serves our children who are 100% and below the federal poverty level. And just for some context, the federal poverty level for a family of 4 is about $24,000 a year. So on that, anybody who is less than that would qualify for Head Start. But you can see here the amount that the state then is reimbursing to a provider. And what I would draw your attention to in that second to last row where it says subsidized childcare. And these are our families who are working or going to school, and they're eligible to receive some help. But the state is only paying $147 a week for full-time care. And then you look at the next row down and you see that private pay programs are charging anywhere from $200, really it's up to about $240 a week now. So there's a huge discrepancy between what the state is reimbursing providers for and what the actual cost is at our high quality private pay programs. And so what we're trying to address with Preschool Promise is that gap so that we can get our providers to a place where they can afford to hire teachers that have training in early childhood education.
Okay, wonderful. That's great. Thank you for shedding some light on that. I also wanted to come back to the pilot projects. Both there's one in Kettering and now in Northwest Dayton.
Right.
So I'd like to hear a little bit about the pilot projects.
So
Very
the-
important.
The pilot program in Kettering, we learned a lot. And Robyn will say we learned a lot. Right now, we're not calling it a pilot anymore. We're calling it a demonstration.
Good.
So, but we still are in Kettering and in Northwest Dayton. And Robyn can give details on numbers, but because we just started, a few weeks ago. But we wanted to be able to, after this demonstration, say, this can work, this is how it can work, and let's take it countywide. We've had some incredible partners that have helped us get this off the ground. Initially, in Kettering, it was a great partnership for the pilot because Montgomery County put in part of the money, the city of Kettering put in part of the money, Kettering City Schools did, and Moraine, and so we all kind of joined together to say this is important and we need to fund this to see if this will work. So that was for the pilot, and now with the demonstration, we're moving to a larger geographical area, but we wanted to have that consistency to continue in Kettering so that we can see how the numbers, how things are, grow and how it's different. So, but I'll let Robyn tell a little bit more about the detail.
Please do.
Yeah, so like Commissioner Lieberman said, we started in Kettering, and it was focused really there just on tuition assistance and how do we help our lowest income families be able to send their children. And our first year was really just part-day preschool for our lowest income families. And one of the key learnings that we had in Kettering is that really our parents were asking for full day. The part-day program does not work for most of our families when we have most of the parents in the workforce, and that part-day option does not suit the schedule. And so that's one piece. We also learned very clearly that middle-income families also need help paying for preschool. When it costs as much as $12,000 plus a year for full-time preschool, that's pretty significant. And most of our middle-income families who don't usually qualify for some of the help offered by the state also were needing help to be able to afford that high-quality experience. And then, like Charmaine talked about earlier, we also know we have work to do to get the word out to families about why it's important, where to find it, how to access it. And so all of those things help lead to the development of the demonstration. And the other thing in Kettering, we really did not do anything to focus on the quality part that we've been talking about so much tonight. And so we knew we really needed to add that piece in as well as we expanded to the larger demonstration model to come alongside our existing providers and help them expand quality, and then also expand the number of seats in our programs that already are high quality. So those are all things that led to this demonstration and the 3 pillars that we talked about earlier.
It sounds like you did certainly learn a lot. How were the families chosen for the Kettering program?
They choose us.
It's an application, yeah.
Okay,
They just
came.
apply
All right,
for it.
very good.
Yep.
Very good. And how many participated?
We had about 40 each year in Kettering, and it was also limited to programs that were already star rated at the higher levels of the star rating process. But we had about 40 families each year in the Kettering pilot.
Okay, very good. Now, is the same model being used in Northwest Dayton? Is that?
We've expanded the Preschool Promise model because of all the things that we learned in Kettering. So like Robyn said, at first we just focused on the tuition assistance, but here we are able to add we are able to add the quality assistance, as well as going out and spreading the word in the community. And we also changed how we help with the tuition assistance because we realized that we wanted to respect parent choice and letting parents be able to choose all the centers that they wanted to send their child to. And so we, during the first 2 years in the Kettering pilot, we only did the tuition assistance with 3 to 5 star rated centers, but then for the demonstration, we expanded to include all star rated centers. One, because we wanted, like I said, to respect parent choice, but then 2, to respect and to help assist our centers that have gone into the step up process, because it was not the easiest thing to do. So we wanted to give them that support and help with the tuition assistance with those centers.
Okay. And how many are involved in Northwest or total?
So total for the demonstration, we have a total of 35 programs participating, and they are participating in two different ways. One, if all centers are participating in the quality assistance, the coaching, the resources, but then centers that are star rated, they are the ones that qualify for the tuition assistance that parents can apply to. And most of our programs are star rated. I think about 7 or 8 are not.
Okay.
But most of the programs that are participating now are star rated programs.
All right. And so a parent comes to you to make an application, and that starts the process. Or is it closed for this year because we've already all right, good. All right. So
Still apply.
good,
Yeah.
good.
So apply now.
Okay.
Preschoolpromise.org.
Okay, apply now. So walk us through that application process for any of our viewers tonight. They can understand what comes ahead to do this.
So there's 2 ways to get into the Preschool Promise work. First, if you have a center that you want to work with and that is in the program, you can start with just picking that center. Then you would go to preschoolpromise.org and download an application. You can also call 4C for Children, and I'm kicking myself in the butt because I don't know their number off the top of my head. But you can call 4C and get information, or go to one of the providers and get an application from them. And then once you get the application, fill it out, you can email it or mail it to 4C for Children. And then you'll just wait to get your response, and then you'll be in the Preschool Promise program.
Okay, so that sounds pretty simple. About how long would a parent think it would take?
So once a parent gets in all of their paperwork,
Okay,
it doesn't take long.
Right.
I think the longest part sometimes is just getting all their paperwork. But I believe it's just a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's really, the application is pretty simple,
Yeah.
and we just need proof of residence that you're a Montgomery County resident. We need a birth certificate so we can validate your child and their birth date, and then we just need proof of income. So those are the 3 pieces.
And Robyn brought up something that I think is important that may not be clear. You just have to be a Montgomery County resident. So let's say you worked near one of these that are in this demonstration. You don't have to live in that particular area, but as long as you live in the county. So that's something that we decided, yeah, we need to do that instead of, looking at, do you live in Kettering or do you live in Northwest Dayton?
So if anyone works near the center.
Well, anything. I mean, if they want to go through Kettering on their way up from Centerville.
Yes, they can do.
Yeah,
They can
right.
do any of that. Well, that's very good. And do you have a certain number of available positions or slots or seats, or is it more you have funding to provide?
Right, we
and
have
then
funding.
Okay.
At this point, I think we pretty much have availability in all of our participating sites.
Okay.
And if we reach a place that we fill them all up, then we could look to expand to add another classroom. But right now we do have available seats in most of our centers. There are a few in our Kettering school-based ones and in the Dayton Public Schools school-based ones that are full at that individual school site, but there still would be spaces in the rest of Dayton Public School, preschool, or the same in Kettering.
You started off our program by telling us a little bit about the Preschool Promise and the commitment of all of the commissioners on that. Talk a little bit when the report came that was so convincing that you wanted to act on this. How much funding is being helped in this process?
So I was going to make sure I talked about the funding. It's a big lift, okay? And so for the demonstration, we kind of guesstimated how much it was going to cost.
What you have to do.
Right, exactly. And the county put up the initial funding, a big chunk of it. But then we went out, Robyn and I and some others, and the mayor of Dayton, and we went out and we went to a lot of our foundations. And so this is definitely a community-wide, the initial demonstration, people are putting money in the game because they believe it's so important. One that comes to mind is CareSource. They've been a great friend to this and a funder. We have a whole list of funders, but it's people get it and they know why it's so important. And so we do have to look down the road though and say, as we're going to expand this, how are we going to fund it? One of the things that we've been able to do at the county is through the Human Service Levy, we've been able to earmark these funds for this program. But countywide, it's going to be a lot more. So, we're going to have to look and say, how are we going to do this? There's a lot of talk throughout the whole country. We've visited other cities throughout the country that have their own forms. Several of the Ohio counties do, and cities. But, we constantly hear talk about federal dollars, more state dollars. So, this can be all of us together, putting our part in it. We don't want it to all fall on Montgomery County to fund the whole thing, but it's something that's going to take some creative thinking and financing, but we believe in it so strongly, and we hope that the citizens of Montgomery County believe that as well, because it's our future. It's our future workforce, and if we don't, grow this workforce ourselves, we're going to be in trouble.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And what other cities are doing such similar preschool promises?
Well, one that we've learned a lot from is Denver. The Denver preschool program has been up and running for the last 10 years, as well as San Francisco. They have a program called the Preschool for All, and that has been around for 10 years. So I would say those two cities are lead cities that have been at this the longest. Then, of course, we've learned from other places around the country, like Seattle, that just started a demonstration. New York City has invested significantly in preschool the last few years. So there are others that have come on more recently. And then here in our own state, in Ohio, we have Cincinnati just down the road that is actively pursuing what they also call a preschool promise. And then also up in Cleveland, they have Pre-for-Cle, and they're working very hard on expanding high quality preschool slots in Cleveland. And Columbus is putting their plan together right now. So in Ohio, we are not alone, and we certainly don't want to be left behind by not looking at this really proactively.
Well, of course, and it's good also to have other models that you're not
Absolutely.
having to
Right.
reinvent everything
Right.
when you're doing this.
Right. As Robyn said, we learned a lot from Denver. And because they've been 10 years, you can see how things have progressed and how things have gotten better there and how that's working. Yeah.
And it's good to learn from other people's mistakes.
Absolutely.
Yes, it is.
Don't have to repeat them ourselves. Right. Yeah. Exactly. That's great. Then I also wanted to ask if there's a future site. You've talked about Kettering and you've talked about Northwest. And in Kettering, it sounds like you came together there well because most of the entities there were in support of that. And I'll let you say, why did you choose Northwest? I would have my own ideas, but I want to hear from you. How did you pick Northwest?
Well, we looked extensively at the data to look at the number of children who are in each community, the number of providers, the various levels of star ratings of those providers. And so we looked for an area that had enough of a concentration of students and of programs that we could actually demonstrate something and work there. So Northwest Dayton is one that really rose to the top, especially with the need for investing in quality improvement there. And so it gives us a nice complement to what we're doing in Kettering, different needs in different communities, and we learn a lot from both of those communities.
Certainly, I would expect that you will. And then is there a future site that's been identified yet, or are you still analyzing this?
Well, look at them both. Look at me. I wish the camera would have caught that. They're both smiling and looking at me. Well, the demonstration, we'll continue with that. And then I think after the demonstration, our goal is to take this countywide. Yeah.
Okay. I
So
didn't know if there would be.
yeah, like add Huber
steps.
Heights or
Yes,
something.
yeah.
That is not in our plan right now. No,
Right.
that's not to say that it won't
understand.
happen,
I understand.
but that is not, in the
It's
plan.
countywide.
It's countywide. Yeah.
Well, that gets you closer to that 10-year goal. The faster you
Absolutely.
the
We gotta get working on
the faster that can happen, certainly. What has been some of the response that you all have had from the providers? Have you met with acceptance, and are they excited? And
So we just actually got a list today of responses from providers. One thing is that they're just excited about having something new and getting that extra coaching, being able to work with families, that their families are excited about the preschool promise and being able to do something positive with their children. It's new, and so with that also comes you know, just some fear, but mostly it's just positive that they're just excited that the Preschool Promise is out and that people care about childcare, that people care about preschool, that people care about their centers, and that they are really focused on quality. With this initiative, we have such an opportunity just to really build a great support for our early childhood educators, and that's what they need because they are teaching our future.
And what would you say about the way parents have spoken about how it's changed their lives?
Yeah. Parents are floored oftentimes at the assistance that they can receive, especially like Robyn shared, those middle income families. We did an event last week where a few parents that have been affected by Preschool Promise spoke. One was a teacher, and she is a mother of triplets. And they're all 4, you know, and so imagine, right,
all at the same time.
right,
Just
at
say
the
one.
same time, right? And so imagine having to pay for preschool for 1 child. She's having, you know, they're having to pay for 3.
Yes.
And to be able to get that financial assistance from Preschool Promise is just so great. And to be able to send their child to a quality center and not having to back down for what they really want as parents. They're just excited that they can receive that kind of assistance.
Their stories are on the Facebook page.
They are,
Okay.
yes,
And
they are on Facebook.
Yeah, and
Okay.
so it's
And
a
that's
great,
Preschool Promise,
Yes.
Facebook for
Yes,
okay.
yes.
People can
and
go.
it's really great stories.
Very sweet. I'm being told that we have very little time left, so I'd like to ask if you all would have any closing remarks, something I haven't asked you that you really wanted to talk about.
I'll let Robyn go first.
You go ahead.
I'm just excited about Preschool Promise. I'm excited about this investment, and I really hope that the community gets behind this initiative because it matters. It matters for parents, for them to make the sacrifice to get their child in preschool, and it matters for the community because the children are our future. And if we want to make a difference in the future of Montgomery County, then we have to start today. We can't wait. We don't have an option to wait. We have to do something about it now, and Preschool Promise is one of the ways to do something about it now.
Oh, thank you. Robyn.
Yeah, ditto to what Charmaine said, but I just really want to thank Commissioner Lieberman. She has taken a really strong lead role in getting us to the place where we are now with Preschool Promise. We're lucky to have other elected officials, the other commissioners, Mayor Whaley, Commissioner Lieberman talked about. Mayor Whaley has taken a bold step to say we want to take Preschool Promise citywide in Dayton, and is looking at doing that with a proposed tax this fall. So that's a step forward in our big vision that Commissioner Lieberman has been talking about to take it countywide, because we want to see this go across the whole county for all 6,500 children and really make sure our parents and our kids have that opportunity to give our children the foundation they need to really shine.
Great, thank you. And Commissioner.
Well, I would just add, you've heard us talk a lot this evening about investment, and I can't think of a better investment than in our youngest learners. You know, just going to kindergarten, it doesn't cut it anymore. And because of all the testing, I mean, they've got to be reading. And so that doesn't mean that preschool you learn how to read, you know, but they're ready to learn how to read. And it's things that, you know, maybe when we were children, we didn't, you know, have to worry about that. But this investment is so critical. And again, Robyn mentioned our partners. You know, the city, the mayor, and the commissioner of the city saying, "We get it too. We're going to do this. You know, we're all in this together." And it's not going to be an easy lift. We've, you know, looked at how much it could cost in the end, and it's going to take everybody working together to figure this out. But I'm so excited about it because you hear more and more about other places in the country doing it. And we know that we're ahead of the game, really. I mean, we're behind, you know, Denver and the big cities, but in Ohio we're ahead of the game, and we're just doing it the right way, I think. And I'm just happy to have this opportunity today because we talk about education and how can we get the word out, and this was a great way to do that. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to thank you all for coming on the program and giving your time. I really appreciate it. And I want to thank the viewers for watching and our callers who called in. And if you have extra questions, you can reach them at Preschool Promise. Your phone number is?
Well, you can go to preschoolpromise.org is the best thing, and if not, you can call 4C for Children, and the number's all there on the website, preschoolpromise.org.
All right. Thank you very much, and good night.